So just the other week, I took a look at the Make Switch in the Switch 2 to see mostly if the Switch 2 really was fragile enough to be bricked by this little like aftermarket cartridge that allows you to dump your actual games, we'll say, onto an SD card to then play off of one cartridge, rather than wheel around all these physical copies of games. Well, since then, it appears there is a firmware update that went out that makes so that the cartridge itself, the Make Switch, can work with Switch 1 games on the Switch 2. However, now we have more developments happening online today because it seems that some people have been banned for using the Make Switch on their Switch 2. This has caused a ton of commotion online, and, well, we're going to take a look at exactly, I guess, how legitimate it is that Nintendo has figured out maybe the Make Switch itself. So if you guys enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. Now, this was sent over to me in mass. So many people were sending me this specific post, whether it's through DMs or just tagging me. It seemed like Reddit was curious what happened to my Switch. So let's take a look here. This is over on Switch Tools. Saying that my Switch 2 has been banned after using the Make Switch with perfectly legal dumps of my own cartridges, so it would seem that Nintendo can detect something. It says similar reports on Reddit are starting to come in. I strongly recommend that you do not use the Make Switch. It was already very risky to use, but is now even more so on the Switch 2. Now, the funny thing is, all right, so this seemed to really kick off over on Reddit, where a person, and the post is gone now. I wish I had left this page up so that I could have just showed what it said here exactly, because this is 9 hours ago. My Nintendo Switch 2 has been console banned, and I have absolutely no idea why. That was the lead in there. I don't know, it just happened. Anyway, they start going through, and it was sort of funny because people in the comments started to look through this person's history on Reddit, exactly where they're posting and which boards they're frequenting, and it turns out that they really like going to the Switch 2 hacks subreddit, and then from there they eventually admit that they used the Make Switch in their Switch 2. Now they say they use their legitimate backups of their games, and that's the biggest thing here with the Make Switch. It's been an unknown since it came out. It's even more so of an unknown now with the Switch 2. And I still think, at this time, my conclusion from that video that I made where I checked out the Make Switch for the first time with my Switch OLED still holds up perfectly here in this situation. There's still this risk that's just out there, the possibility that Nintendo catches on to this and pushes a patch or a system firmware update, and then all of a sudden, oh wait, it doesn't work anymore, or worse, the system's able to detect if you're using this cartridge and then ban your console outright. So I can't necessarily guarantee that that won't happen in the future. And because of all this and the way it's sort of marketed as being used on a stock system and even online, it's not really something I can recommend currently. But hey, if you want to get it for a secondary Switch that's always going to be offline and you don't necessarily want to go through the process of just getting a hacked Switch for that purpose, technically it does what it's supposed to do. See, because the idea of the Make Switch is that you would use your own games. You wouldn't say go online and download some backups of other people's games, or one specific image that seems to just make the rounds everywhere because then everybody has the same authentication key or certificate. That's like the easiest thing for Nintendo to detect and then ban immediately. See, each cartridge itself, everything being on the cartridge, even with the Switch 1 games, has its own identifying key that's specific to it. Even if there's a million copies printed, each one has its own identifier so that it can get around the idea of counterfeits like this, to where, let's say you see the Splatoon 3 update hit and you're like, oh, I want to play that. Let me go online and download it. Well, if you have a hacked Switch and you go online with it, you're banned immediately. And it's kind of the same thing there. Then with the Make Switch, if you use that same image to then go online to play because you're matching somebody's cartridge out there somewhere, that's what you needed to get that initial dump for the game. And that's one of the reasons that the Make Switch itself has always been an unknown, because you got to kind of take people's words that they're actually using their own legitimate backups. All right. And there is a massive image out there of just a bunch of different games that have been backed up and dropped online. And I'm sure many people are using those same files. Now, if you're using it and you're like, you know what, I'm just seeing this as a hacked system, okay, there you go. You already understand what's happening here, and the potential of you getting banned is there at all times if you connect the internet. Now we have another one here because they linked to 2 of them, which mentions, I just wanted to let everyone know to refrain from using their make flash on the Switch 2 online for now. My Switch 2 was just banned. My account is fine for now. Only games I had were my backed up games. Must be some new detection Nintendo has on these make switches. Pretty dumb of me to go online with it, but that's on me. Now, here's the thing with the make switch. It is marketed as a device that is good to use on a stock unmodified system. All right. Once it loses that, to me, I don't really see the point in it at all. Like if you're already treating your system as a device that's been hacked in some way by just putting this cartridge in, you might as well just hack the system. I mean, that's just how it is. And yes, it's harder to hack Switch OLED systems or even like the Mariko systems, but there are so many Switch ones out there that can just be paperclip modded at this point, especially with the Switch 2 on the market. I mean, that's probably the best route to go, because then at least you understand what you've gotten yourself into. Whereas the way that the Make Switch is marketed, it's kind of thrown around as, hey, you're good. Don't worry about it. So right now, don't put the Make Switch in your Switch 2. I mean, I wouldn't really recommend, honestly, picking it up now anyway, because it's become very strange and all over the place with how they're being sold online. Some listings pop up and they look very sketchy at times. But yeah, now more than ever, because it's such an unknown, along with the hardware for the Switch 2, that's even more of an unknown. You're compounding unknowns right now. So you're probably going to end up having your system banned that you just bought for $450 or $500, maybe more, right? So at this time, yeah, maybe avoid the Make Switch on your nice shiny system. As for what's happened to my Switch 2, to be honest, I'm not really sure. That is not a system that I have my account on or that I was looking at as a personal system to play online with. It's kind of the test system right now, and there are many videos that are currently being worked on right now because of that system. So at this point, maybe eventually I'll go online with it to see what happens, because I did put the Make Switch into that Switch 2 system, but it didn't really work. And that was the whole point, was to show that it's not bricking or destroying your Switch 2 as soon as it gets dropped in. May have banned it as soon as it dropped in, but it didn't destroy it. Now, there are also videos that people have posted showing them updating their Switch 2 with a Make Switch. So again, it's really hard to say exactly what is happening right now, and if everyone's actually being truthful online around this, and no one's using any of these downloaded free images that are flying around all over the place of these backups. But either way, right now I'd err on the side of caution and probably just stay away from it right now, specifically for the Switch 2. And maybe someday I'll find out if that Switch 1 or Switch 2 is banned using that Make Switch. I think eventually when it goes back together completely and I'm done testing it for other videos, maybe I'll see if I was going to have it set up for the kids, just a general living room Switch 2 for them to play Mario Kart on. And I guess at that point, I'll find out. Maybe I'll just make just a separate account to try to sign into it for the first time online. It still gets its system updates and even game updates. I put that Street Fighter game in there and it pulled the entire file and information, although I assume it's going to be for online play specifically. So I don't know, I guess we'll find out at some point with Mario Kart or Splatoon 3 or something like that. I mean, if that Switch 2 did get banned, it's not like I have much of a case. I'm literally on video putting the Make Switch into that Switch 2 system, so might have to end up writing that one off. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below. Has Nintendo figured out a way to detect the Make Switch just outright on the Switch 2? This will be the time for them to do so, since they're introducing a whole new platform with all kinds of new, I'm sure, security measures even built directly into the system. And something tells me they're very aware of this Make Switch cartridge that's floating around online. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.